Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is September 10th, 2024, and today is Tuesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the markets bounced almost across the board. But first, looking at today's major economic event. So at 8 a.m. South African time, out of Great Britain, we have a Claimant Count Change number coming out. Now looking at the markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, we're watching the major pairs retracing versus the US dollar. And as we shift over to the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both bounce, but let's see if it's sustainable. Now shifting over to commodities, gold also bounces above 2,500, while oil is still sitting on support and looking very weak. Now looking at the stocks almost across the board, we got a bounce, but specifically the two notables is JP Morgan and NVIDIA that bounce more than others. Now lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin bounces as well. So the markets did bounce, but let's see if it's sustainable. And let's see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go, first with the Euro USD. Now we are getting a small little bounce. I mean, this is like a 5-pip bounce, not really anything notable. But a couple of things here. We did retrace versus the US dollar to this 110.30-ish one level. However, we are hitting that 30-day moving average. That's an important level. If we can hold it, we may test that high again of 111.90-ish level. So that might be something to look forward to. I mean, we're not big away from that. We're only about 150 pips away, but can be a decent move in the next couple of days, especially since we have CPI coming out tomorrow from the United States and PPI from the United States the day following. Now, looking here at the GBP, also retracing a little bit stronger versus US dollar, but did retrace as well. And if we look at the Australian dollar, this was the first one to go. So this was a leading indicator for us. Now, looking at the Japanese yen, dollar getting slightly stronger here, okay, as it perked up here to 143, but really still pretty weak and on its lower range of this consolidation after this sell-off. Now jumping into commodities, gold get a little bit of a bounce above 2,500. Yes, they were trading about 24.90-ish level, so a little bit of a pivot to the upside. Still no big change here. If you were able and lucky enough to catch it at 24.90, good for you. You might want to unload a little bit here. We're at the middle of that move, and that was a decent bounce. I'm looking at crude oil, dead, showing weakness. And if it does break 68, we could go back to $60 a barrel. I mean, this is really showing some tremendous weakness here. See the crossovers, and if that 30-day crossover crosses over the 200-day moving average, clearly it's going to go lower. Now, the next real level for us to go is the lower high 50s, okay, which is, you know, a decent play. It's almost $10, but let's see what happens. Now, looking at natural gas, also retracing here to 211 from 227. Also retracing and getting a little bit weaker. It's been trading in a really tight range, okay? But, you know, if you play this tight range on a decent amount of volume, there's more bang for your buck when it comes to natural gas. Now, jumping into the U.S. markets, here we go. First with the Dow Jones. This was the more extreme bounce, okay, which we anticipate because for the past 3 months, the U.S. stock market in the tech sector has been very weak. That represents the NASDAQ. And sure enough, we're looking at 40,800-ish level on the Dow Jones. If we look at the NASDAQ, we got a bounce, but not that big of a deal, okay? So what does that reflect, all right? So let's take a look at it. JP Morgan reflects the Dow Jones. A little bit more of an aggressive bounce. We were trading at 211 to 216. We're almost at that halfway point to 225, 227-ish level, which was our all-time record highs for JP Morgan. So that's notable. Now, looking at the other stocks, Microsoft, weak. Okay, Facebook, weak. Apple, weak. Okay, showing weakness. Yes, it's off of its highs by 15, 16 points, but it's showing some weakness here. And that's my concern. Amazon also trading sideways, not really giving us any sort of upwards momentum. Now, let's take a look at NVIDIA. It did bounce about 5 points. Okay, yesterday, had a gap up and go. Let's see if this is a turnaround for NVIDIA, okay, as we're inching in closer to the FOMC rate decision next week. Lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin, getting a bounce as well at 52,500-ish level. Okay, that was a pivot point. Yeah, we didn't really have a support-ish level there. We kind of tested it once or twice before. Now, this is what I would call trading in a range, okay? 54,000 is the lower range and 68,000 the upper range, but it's showing some more weakness here, okay? It's making lower highs. I mean, it's not much of a, clear indication that it's going lower, but it's making lower highs, okay? And not making lower lows necessarily, just mildly, okay? So not much to really say about Bitcoin right now. I'm going to focus on the American stocks better, or on the Forex symbols, as they have much more character, much clearer direction. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.